Welcome to the Steelers Realm Podcast. And now, here are the boys of Steelers Realm.
Once again, Andy, for that great intro, man. Really appreciate it. Andy Hart from Cat Country here in Indiana County. Gentlemen, Steeler Nation, welcome to Steelers Realm Podcast. I'm one of your hosts, JT, along with the other two amigos, Freight Train and the famous TA. Gentlemen, greetings once again. We're back.
Greetings, Earthland.
Mr. Roboto Domo. Hey, I'm just glad
Resistance is futile.
I'm just kind of glad that this season has finally wrapped itself up and what this season was. I lost a couple years of my life, but hey.
Yeah, I became an alcoholic.
But they say with age, you become wiser. So next season, I mean, I'd be like a grizzled veteran.
Imagine how wise you'll be next year.
Yes. Yes.
DA, how'd you and the boys manage out in the garage?
You know, it was a little somber. There was, some few choice words that went back and forth. And, the biggest question is, where do we go from here? And Jeremiah, a shout out to you, buddy.
Hey, Jeremiah.
And yes, out with the old, in with the new, but we still got to talk a little bit about the old before we can get to the new, because I just feel like there's some unsaid things that need to just be brought to the forefront.
Just a handful of things?
I'm guessing it's a whole episode of things that we have. I know, I'm just like bang, 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 bang.
I mean, it's definitely interesting, to sit where we are today and kind of speculate amongst ourselves of what changes we feel needs to happen with this team and what actually will transpire with this team. It's going to be a very, very interesting offseason, to say the least.
To say the least. And, TA, we thought that Omar Khan in his first draft and offseason, we thought he did a pretty good job. He filled a lot of holes. We saw some success with some of the players early on, but injury is a huge part of the season. And then, that the meltdown middle of the season to what was looking to be an AFC North contest, really.
Let's face it, after the first week, the AFC North, there's only one guy standing, and they might not have been standing if they didn't have the bye.
That's true. And who knows what they're going to look like after 2 weeks off without playing football. Are they going to come out stagnant?
How about 3 weeks?
3 weeks.
Lamar's actually got 3 weeks off.
3 weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a little bit of rust and no real live game action, in those 3 weeks.
Because, I mean, we've seen it within our game, and, we'll delve into it maybe a little bit deeper, but you can't afford to get off to slow starts in these playoff games. It's from the gun to when they shoot it off to the very end. Like, it is – you cannot afford to get behind, especially these teams. You know what I mean? Like other teams we face in the regular season, we could make up for it. We had how many fourth quarter comebacks? We saw it. That was our forte. Not in the playoffs. It's a different animal.
And you're right. And I don't know if it was, that extra day took these guys mentally out of their game, but you could tell that just that first quarter and a half, they were lost. They weren't where they needed to be. And I don't know if they were surprised. I mean, I feel bad for George. I mean, on that first fumble, that was just that was just unbelievable, guys. I mean,
And it wasn't
oh,
from him being lackadaisical. He was actually fighting for more yardage. He's had a fight in him, and he just lost the ball.
yeah. Well, and I think the ball was cold. The ball is a little slick.
Mhm.
He's cold. I mean, I think he probably just squeezed it a little harder, and it just happened to squirt right out of there.
Yeah.
Not meaning.
Well, and at those temperatures, the field is hard, the ground is hard. I mean, look, we get 2 concussions out of this game. The ball's hard; it doesn't go as far.
Mhm.
There's no flex to it. It's a rock out there, and yeah, tough break. I mean, if it's a big game, man, you got to play big, though.
Yeah.
Got to hold on to
There's
the
just
rock.
too many bad habits that really reared their ugly head in this game that I could see. I mean, really the main one that really stuck out to me was the tackling. Our tackling was atrocious on every single level.
Yeah.
I mean, Minka is supposed to be your star player in there with TJ out, and he doesn't even like a try on the tackle on the last touchdown. Like, since when do you grab guys by the shoulder and try to bring them down? Aren't you taught to wrap up? Or, I mean, he went low on Chubb. Why is he not going low on everybody else? Like, is he like feeling bad that he's doing that?
Well,
It's
hey,
just
and you got to hand it to that rookie, man. For him to maintain his balance, be spun around like that, and pop back up like a jack in the box to head to the end zone.
I know, but Minka's got to be smarter than that. You know what I mean? Like,
you can't tackle the shoulder blades. I mean, shoulder pads.
But I mean, every quarter we were just struggling to make tackles and impact tackles. I mean, we saw it on the big Josh Allen run. I mean, there were 7 guys there. Nobody attempted to bring him down. And that was before he slid to where we hit him.
Well, and this is the thing, if anybody watched that Miami Kansas City game, I really got to hand it to the Chiefs, man, because they showed exactly how you play cold weather football.
Mm-hmm.
They came out and they started smacking everybody in the mouth. Their running backs were punishing, and they were beating the hell out of Miami to where they didn't want to tackle them. We came out soft.
Mm-hmm.
We came out limp. We didn't come out fighting. We weren't being physical enough. And I think that's the thing that got me the most, is that we got out physical played.
Yeah. Hey, Bubba, can't tackle a sandwich.
Yeah.
What's going on, man, Bubba? Thanks for tuning in. Bubba and the Triple B Experience, guys. Check them out. Jeremiah in the house, too. Appreciate it, guys. Shoulders to cry on tonight.
And then the other thing that really irritated me was we came out playing zone defense and never came off of it. Never came off of it. Josh Allen, I mean, everything was open. Didn't come off zone whatsoever. What adjustments are you making?
Well, I think they did make some adjustments there. They were too little too late, especially on the tight end aspect of things. I mean, we all knew it throughout the year that our weak spot was our middle linebackers. And, kudos to Miles Jack and everybody who tried to go ahead and
Landon Roberts.
Yeah, make that a position of hell, I don't even know what the word I'm looking for anymore. But it just wasn't there. It just wasn't there. I mean, I don't understand why we didn't do some sort of a cover 2 against those tight ends.
Mm-hmm.
We knew it was coming, but we didn't have the safety wasn't over top on that. But they were more worried about too. I think they didn't want Diggs to go ahead and take and have the game run away with Diggs, and we stopped Diggs. That's for sure. When you look at it on the old stat sheet, Diggs didn't have a very big game against us. So in that aspect, I guess we did okay.
No,
he didn't have the big plays, but he caught the ball on the weighty downs to extend the drive.
Yep.
That's where I'm coming at with the zone. That should have been man coverage. The whole thing. I mean, Joey Porter's been playing great man coverage the whole season. You know what I mean? Let him man up with Diggs and get physical with Diggs. Wasn't that what we talked about during our show that we thought maybe we could take advantage of, was somebody that's just as physical on the outside? And they didn't. Joey played soft on him the whole game, and he's open to convert the first downs. I mean, their third down percentage was probably pretty good.
Well,
and ours was just not the greatest until we finally woke up. But
well, you know what? He's a deep threat, and some of those, they were just designed to push him back, turn, stop, boom.
but with the weather, you almost want him to try to beat you deep. Don't give him the soft stuff.
Yeah,
Make him have to beat you going deep.
Agree.
I just don't. This coaching staff, man, like if Tomlin is coming back, then he has to address that. But yeah, it's not rocket science.
Well, there's going to be a lot to address, but I wanted to touch on that Josh Allen run a little bit. You know, he threw that fake slide out. Here's what I got a little bit of problem with. NFL needs to work on their consistency. You know, and I'm not blaming this on the refs completely, but they had a hand in it. And you could just see as they were driving down there. But the fake slide, and then he decides not to and picks up another 20 yards. And then when he actually did finally slid. Who was it that hit him? Like the momentum, he was already ready to stop him. I suppose he could have pulled up, but yet we got flagged on that one.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, you know, are they going to rule out the fake slide? If you go fake slide, then the ball's dead there. I don't know. Like, where do you go with this? But, you know, the lack of holding calls continues. And I think that's an NFL problem, not just a Steeler problem. And I saw tackles on their offense leaving early. It was just not.
I think how they could tweak that rule would be if you hit them anywhere below the neck and shoulder. You know what I mean? Like if you're hitting them above the shoulders, then you can throw the flag. But if it's in between and he landed on his back. The defender twirled and rolled off of Josh Allen. It's not like he gave him a cheap shot by any stretch of the imagination.
He hit him though.
Yeah, but it wasn't anything out of the ordinary.
No.
You know what I mean?
It wasn't egregious.
No. I mean,
unlike the block in the back on Joey Porter Jr.
And the helmet to helmet.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, because Joey was going down at that point in time.
Mm-hmm.
Same way that, Allen was going down.
Yeah.
Guys, when you really look at the box score numbers on this, I mean, the game really was close, and it just came down to those two turnovers in all reality, I think.
Yeah, I agree with you.
It was the fumble that, I feel bad again for GP. And GP, I tell you what, he made sure he held on to the ball the rest of the day. He made sure he made every play count. And then you got to feel bad for Mason. I think Mason held on to that ball in the end zone just a hair too long. And if he would have just threw it, we're not talking interception. But you also got to give it to the Bills defense.
Yeah.
They watched the film. They knew that play was coming.
Well, and in that play, that's designed to go to him or nobody. Or out of bounds.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if he's that well covered, he should have just thrown it out of bounds.
Correct.
Yeah. Turnovers are not tackling, Bubba. Exactly. Yeah. And you know what? Going into this game, I think we turned around. After the second series, we turned around and drove the ball down 90 yards, to the 10 before that interception. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So, and I think the final stats actually Mason gained Josh Allen in passing.
And he did. I mean, Mason had 22 of 39 for 229 yards, 2 TDs, and an interception.
Yeah, and I think Allen was 208, something like that.
He was 203, 21 of 30 for 3 TDs. And let's face it, that one interception could have been the third TD.
Yeah, that was a 14-point swing right there.
And so, I kind of give credit to the Steelers. I think that they really did good. There was one thing that I just could not believe my eyes, and that was the officiating. I mean, and George said it all, and I'm waiting to see if he gets fined. He says, "You're not going to win a game, guys, when you have to play the refs and the
Yeah.
Buffalo Bills."
Mhm.
Yeah, he wasn't the only one to speak up either.
No, no, he
Najee had
wasn't.
his share of words.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely, and I think George he's all about the politics in football right now, and it's interesting that a young guy sees this. So, what are they going to do to get to him to shut him up? How much are they getting ready to take out of his pocket to keep his silence?
Well, he's already paid like over half his paychecks in fines this year. I don't know if you guys saw that, but he's like, I think it's just like over $200,000 in fines this season already for George.
Gentlemen, have you seen the amount of fines that the NFL has levied this year?
Yeah, it's astronomical.
It's ridiculous,
Mm-hmm.
the amount of fines.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they say they're supposed to go to charity, but I'd really like to see that documentation that money goes to charity.
Yeah, what charity? Why don't you tell us?
Yeah, it's supposed to be various charities, but nonetheless, it's still charities. But I don't know.
Now, Bubba, I agree with you. We've been talking about that for years. Ever since we lost Shazier, we haven't been able to really cover the tight ends
Mm-hmm.
effectively. That middle's been soft for years.
And here's
Teams
the
know
other
it. Teams know it.
they do, and the thing is we haven't really been in a position to draft a middle linebacker, and the middle linebacker we thought was going to be okay turned out to be a bum.
Yeah, he's a dud.
So, did the Steelers create their own mediocrity? You know,
Uh,
do, do,
I
do
mean,
we do we you know tank a season and finally get some draft picks, some high draft picks? Are
well,
we
if there
on?
was any season to do that, it was this season, and we've failed to do that. So,
We did fail to do that. And I don't think so, because when you look at what Khan did last year for his first year of really controlling this team, I mean, let's face it, guys. Not only did we have a draft class that everybody participated in except Corey Trice, and if he wouldn't have gotten hurt, Corey Trice is probably on that field as well
Yeah,
at the
probably.
end of the season. I mean,
Yeah.
let,
yeah, it
let's
could
think
be.
about that. If anything, Corey Trice is coming in to replace Joey after that concussion. But then what you really got to look at is I got to hand it to Omar. I mean, he really went out there and picked up some pieces to make sure that we continue play. Mikael Walker, Blake Martinez, when Quan and um, oh
Holcomb.
Holcomb went down, he went out and picked those guys right up. The DBs that he was able to bring in, Shannon Sullivan, Elijah Riley. I mean, he really did a decent job, guys, of piecing this overpriced defense together.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, you put
So,
band-aids, but you know,
well, band-aids or not, it still was pretty damn effective. So now the question is what can he do with another year?
it's about getting healthy players. So, I mean, some of these guys that he signed came in with a history, a track record of not being able to stay healthy for a full season. You know what I mean? Like
Well,
some guys, just like Holcomb, never gave in a full season. You know, Landon had injury problems. He was in and out all season. I mean, the back end, we had injury problems. The defensive line, I think, is where we need the most help. I mean, talk about a unit that totally disappeared in this game. Like, where was Cam Hayward? Like, he should have been acting like this is his last NFL game. Like, this is it for him. And he disappeared. He can't stay on the field because he's huffing and puffing. He's so old and out of shape. It seems like he can't stay on the field.
Wait,
Benton,
he's hammered.
Stop. I got it.
It's the truth, though. Did you not see the game? Where was he? Where was he in the game? When we needed him the most, where was he at?
Freight Train, I just want to say one thing and one thing only. Okay, Cam has been in there since he's returned from his injury, but you're talking about -7 degrees on a 35-year-old body. I can tell you, I go out there.
Okay, then it's time to hang it up. If you can't play, that's playoff football. He should be conditioned to play playoff football. That's what you play the game for.
Same thing and say, okay, where was Canal Benton at? Do we go ahead and we say
that's what I said? I said the whole unit. The whole unit. Larry Ogunjobi, nowhere to be found. Isaiah Loudermilk isn't even on the field anymore.
Larry Ogunjobi's been kind of hit and miss all the second half of the season.
I'm just saying,
you're right.
They totally disappeared when we needed them the most. This was a smash. This is perfect conditions for them to control the line of scrimmage, and they failed to do that. And it fell on our backup middle linebackers and our band-aided secondary to try to stop this Buffalo offense, and it fails. And you spot them 21 points to begin with. I mean, you're set up for failure.
That was my biggest fear going into this game, that we kept it close. All I wanted to see was them keep it close. And what do they do? Before you know it, you blink, it's 21-0.
I mean, here, I got one for you. How about this? This is in the first quarter of our last 5 playoff games. Okay? Bills, 21-0. Okay? Chiefs, well, there was no score because we seemed to hang in there. The Browns got up to 28-0 on us. The Jaguars, 14-0. The Patriots, 10-0. That's like 66-0 after the first quarter in our playoff games. You cannot win in the playoffs if you're going to get behind like that. You will not win. You will not. That's why we can't get out of the first round, because we get in our own way.
That's why we haven't won a playoff game in the last 6 playoff attempts. We're getting off to slow starts, and it's always something stupid. It's always something crazy. But it's almost as if it's scripted.
Like weather conditions, like I don't even like when it comes to defensively, the weather shouldn't matter. The weather should actually be to your advantage. Offensively is where you can struggle when it's temperatures like this. We struggled mightily in the defensive side of the ball, and that falls on Terrell Austin. That falls completely on him. I'm telling you, way too much zone against a quarterback that sat back there all day and just pick you apart. And when nobody was open, there wasn't even a spy around to stop him. On top of they couldn't tackle him. They probably couldn't even tackle me if I would have went out there.
No, they couldn't.
Like, why are you going up top on a tackle? Like, who is in there teaching these guys how to tackle? It's not textbook tackling. You wrap them up. Look at what you're hitting. It's like they're not even looking at them.
And I hate that, like, throw a shoulder at them stuff.
It's not going to work. Especially isn't going to work with Josh Allen.
You need to wrap them up. Boys, I see a lot of changes in this team this year. I was going through a little bit of an article. I think a guy from the Pittsburgh Sports Talk Radio posted this article. Give him credit. But, you know, the one thing he talked about was like freeing up cap space this year. And I see a lot of players that we're not probably going to keep. Even Big Lair could be on the chopping block. But I don't know if we're going to see another year of Cam Hayward.
I don't think we should. I think they need to have that talk with him like they did Hines Ward, like they did Troy Polamalu, and kind of tell him, like, hey man, like, we can afford you. Your contract's way too high for what we're getting out of you. And he just doesn't have it anymore. He doesn't have it. He's disappeared. I haven't seen one splash play from Cam Hayward since he came back. He's lost it.
No, he's been hurt all year, this second half of the year. They played too many snaps on defense, man. This defense just got busted up. But you know what? As the game progressed and they started carting off Bills players, I'm like, there were opportunities to take advantage of new guys in there, and I just didn't see that. It didn't seem like it mattered. They could have plugged anybody in there, and they just still had their way with this team. That was a little frustrating.
Well, yeah, I mean, they lost their best middle linebacker. Russell Douglas didn't even play, so they didn't really take advantage of that.
Well, they were down there. One of their second star receiver too. He didn't play either, right?
Yeah, but you know what it was? Look at again.
I'll say this: at least their broke dick punter kicked better than ours.
That's right. He pulled a hammy and he was still punting better than ours.
Can we be done with Presley? Can we please move on?
He sucks.
Like, I could have thrown the ball farther and he kicked it.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure his kicks were probably farther high than they were far.
And Mason probably could have drop kicked it farther.
But, and again, like, and to continue what I was talking about, look at how the Bills' defensive line took over the game. Look how well their defensive line played against what ours did. It's not even comparable.
Yeah, it was like Najee was like early on anyhow.
Looked like he averaged like 2.1 yards per carry.
They just run into it, and I'm listening to it. I'm leaving work, listening, and hearing Bill Hillgrove. Najee with the rock, 1.5 yards.
Yeah, TA. What was his average per carry? Like 2 yards.
He had 3.1.
Oh, geez, criminy.
Yeah, Jeremiah. That's my thoughts on Cam. Heart is willing, but the body's not. Unfortunately.
Yeah, I mean, Cam, awesome Steeler. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
one of the better Steelers that we've had. But like, you got to realize when your time's up. You know what I mean? That body has a lot of mileage for a defensive lineman. Like, it's time. I'm sorry.
And one of the true great Steeler players, probably never going to get a ring.
Yeah.
Sad to say. Anyhow, oh boy.
I mean, do we want to talk about Mason missing Deontay wide open in the end zone a couple times, or are we not going to beat that dead horse?
He definitely had him on that one time, but he also had a good throw to George as well too. I just didn't work out either.
Yeah,
he could have went either way on that.
Is it just me, or does it seem like Mason doesn't drop back far enough in the pocket to like help himself? Like, is it me? It looked like to me he snaps it, takes one step, and he's like right beside the lineman. Like, they're just right in front of him. Like, how many balls did he get batted down?
Yeah, well, I think that's called pressure.
Like, if he would just like take an extra stride back, and like, I feel like he would be able to see the field better.
What's he doing? Like 3-step drop, not a 5?
No, it's not even that. It's like a 1.5 step.
Hello, Kelly. Congratulations on your Bills.
Yep, congrats, there, girl from New York.
Yeah. I mean, I'm like I said, I'm not a quarterback guru. I'm just like, to me, it seemed like all these other quarterbacks were taking like you said, JT, three-step drops, and Mason's kind of like half that.
Yeah. Kelly says, will you cheer for the Browns or for the Bills now? Well, actually, I'd like to see them beat Kansas City. To be
Stroud. I'm rooting Stroud on. Yeah.
Well, if they pull it off, Texans
if they're facing the Ravens, you sure as hell know I'm rooting for them this week.
Oh wow, absolutely. When it comes down to if it comes down to the Bills and the Texans, I'm rooting for the Texans. So sorry, Kelly, but let's hope you beat Kansas City. Let's knock him off his pedestal, bust another helmet, and let's move on.
Yeah.
Yeah, Bubba says, I don't care. He will not root for the Bills.
See, and Bubba, I felt for you, dude. The one time you don't have Calvin Austin scoring a touchdown in your parlay, he gets one.
All right, guys, let's talk quarterbacks here. Mason, thumbs up or thumbs down on the job? Or would you give him a wash on that?
Oh, he did his job.
Yeah.
I mean, 3-1. I mean, you can't ask for anything more than that. I mean,
I
he
thought
did his
Mason
job.
did what he could do. He certainly didn't give up. Beat the Swifties, Kelly says.
Mhm.
Absolutely. I don't even thought. I certainly don't want to see that anymore. Don't want to see that anymore. But Freight
Yeah,
Train, your
Kelly,
thoughts on Mason?
if
Yeah.
you can make sure the Swifties never leave Buffalo and kind of get buried in the snow, I'll be a Bills fan for the rest of the year.
I mean, that's tough though. Like to me, it's not like a sure. Yeah, let's definitely bring him back. You know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, we still know who he is. You know what I mean? Like this was Mason. This game right here summed it up with how Mason has been. You know what I mean?
Oh,
Like
yeah.
he played against inferior opponents, made them look good. You come
Yeah.
up against a team that's as good or better than you, and he struggles. You know what I mean? There's no kind of in between with him. I'm not saying he had a terrible game, but he's not going to win you a game. You know what I mean? In an environment like this. So, I mean, it's tough. I mean, I want to see what the quarterback market looks like before I can say yes or no.
Same as it's looked for the last 15, 20, 30, 40 years.
No, it hasn't because
Slim pickings and like shit.
no, there's a chance Kirk Cousins could be on the market.
What
You wouldn't want to
reason
bring in Kirk Cousins?
So
Hell no, I wouldn't want to bring in.
You
Kirk
are
Cousins.
crazy. You are so high.
Right.
You
hey,
are
let's just bring
crazy.
in Fitzmagic while we're at it. Let's just bring in
Yeah,
Fitzmagic.
I mean that's kind of what I'm
We
thinking.
can be the 14th team on his list.
Matter of fact, why don't we
He's the
just go
third
ahead
team
and
on his list. He was with Washington and then he went to Minnesota.
look? While we're at it, why don't we just go ahead and see what Jeff George is up to?
I think he's one of the better quarterbacks in the league. I really do.
All right, so you think the Steelers? Mitch is gone. I think we're all.
I would hope so.
I should hope so. He's gone. I don't see the Steelers giving up on Kenny or doing anything with him unless they get some kind of incredible trade.
They should.
They should, but I don't see that happening. And so, do you bring Mason back as a backup and look to draft somebody to bring up behind them?
Yeah, if you're looking to tank next season and get your draft picks you were looking for.
Or are they going to fool
I mean-
themselves and think they can patchwork a quarterback back together? And
There's no patchwork in this quarterback that we have. He's already been patchworked enough.
is Kenny Pickett the future quarterback of the Steelers for 2024?
Probably, depending on what they do in the draft. Because they're not going to spend money in free agency to bring one in here. We already know that. That's their track record.
I mean, here's the thing: have we seen enough of work of Kenny Pickett? And the reason I ask, I mean, you got the Detroit Lions who are going to go up against Tampa Bay Buccaneers, two quarterbacks that have been drug through the ringer in the NFL, in Jared Goff and Baker Mayfield. And here these two guys are leading their teams to victories. Now, look, Rams gave up on Goff. Browns gave up on Mayfield. I would love to see the Detroit Lions right now go to the Super Bowl and win. Can you imagine what's going to happen to Cleveland fans? They're all going to jump off the bridge. They're going to commit suicide.
Or you mean if Tampa Bay does with Baker Mayfield?
Well, with Baker, yes. And Detroit,
Yeah.
as far as Jared Goff goes, LA's going to say the same thing because
If you got any spare money, you might want to throw that on FanDuel. You'd probably win at least $1 million on that bet because nobody's going to foresee that happening.
But my point being is at the end of the day, have we given them enough time? Have we provided them with the right offense coordinator?
Well, yeah, it has to be the system. Your quarterback has to fit whatever system you're running.
Well,
I'll
give you that. I'll give you that on it. But has he passed the eye test, though? Really? I mean, are we going to handicap him with the offensive coordinator and lack of flair? when we watched him time after time stare down receivers and miss open guys time after time after time, make easy touch throws look hard, and overthrowing guys on us. I mean, have we is that a factor of the offensive game plan and coordinator, or is that just he's still not there yet?
I mean, it could be a little bit of both.
And it very well could be. I mean, because the same thing could be said again. Other just those two guys we talked about, and Jared Goff and Baker Mayfield. They evidently didn't pass the eye test,
Right?
And for their home fans, for their coaches. I remember watching the Browns play, and I'm thinking to myself, man, Baker's got it going on. He brings them an attitude. The guy never gives up.
That's right.
Yeah, he makes some mistakes, but he keeps going right at it. Brown said enough was enough. Even with Kenny, I'll say I'd never seen Kenny quit this year on us. Not once did Kenny quit. He continued to push forward no matter what.
Yeah, but at the same time, I've said it before. I'm a tough son of a gun too, but that don't make me a quarterback.
It doesn't
You play
make
to
you a
win the
quarterback.
game, right? You
know what?
stand out there as somebody that gets you W's. This ain't a feel good league.
So again, though, if I look at the eye test, the same thing that Kenny's did, it was the same thing that we applauded Ben for in his final 2 seasons underneath this Canada bullshit. That Ben in the fourth quarter took over. And we've seen Kenny time and time again take over in the fourth quarter. So there's something definitely wrong with our offensive game planning. And I've said it once before, and I'll say it again. We played not to lose. We did not play to win the entire season.
You think he worried too much about throwing interceptions?
Oh, I'm sure that's part of it. I'm sure that it was beat into all 3 of their heads not to turn the ball over.
Well, that didn't stop Mitch.
No, it didn't stop Mitch.
No, about every 10 throws or so, he was due for one.
Yeah. I don't know.
I mean, I know everybody's frustrated right now. Everybody wants change. Everybody wants the quick fix, the magic pill. Welcome to America today. There is no quick fix. There is no magic pill. You're not going to be able to turn on TikTok tomorrow and find the answers to all of our problems. It's not going to happen. I'm sure there's going to be a YouTube video out there that will say it will happen, but it's not going to happen. This is rolling up the sleeves, sticking to the course, and figure out just exactly where do we need to get better.
Back to the lab, and it's going to be a busy lab this off season.
Yeah, I mean, but there is some good things that came out of this. There for a minute, I wasn't even sure Isaac Salamalu was a good signing. It looked like he was struggling, and then this past 6 weeks, you could argue and say he's been our best offensive lineman. You know what I mean?
And here's the funny thing. Now think about this, Freight Train. I just want you to think about this. Wrap your head around this. He became a great left guard when somebody got fired. We fired a left guard who turned out to be the number 1 guard in the NFL this year in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
So I think if we're talking anything, if we really need true hard facts, I don't think Tomlin has lost this team at all. Tomlin has, for whatever reason, has spun his magic, and he's got these guys believing, which is why he's getting wins out of a mediocre team. But what he's failing to do is build him a coaching tree. And that starts with the offensive line, the offense coordinator, defensive line coach.
Yeah, I mean,
we need solid coaching.
Correct me if I'm wrong, TA, but if you hire somebody that's smarter than you, doesn't that make you in turn look smarter?
I know when I managed, I always looked for guys who were smarter than me.
Yeah, you always want to try to train essentially your replacement.
Yes, you want to help elevate you and everybody around you.
Right. And I think that's what he was afraid of. You know what I mean? Like,
Well,
and it doesn't make any sense. Like, you would assume that he would think that he's secure in his job. You know what I mean? Like, at what point has anybody given you indications that we don't want you around? Why are you continuously not making yourself better? And you continuously, year on and year out, have a mediocre team, like a mediocre record, and fail in the first round of the playoffs. Like, you can't get yourself over that hump.
yeah, but here's the thing. Okay, in the last couple of years, I agree with you in that statement. However, that wasn't always Tomlin's MO. When he first came in, he surrounded himself with ex-coaches. I mean, we had
Haley.
um, Haley, we had LeBeau, you had oh, I'm trying to
Well,
think.
LeBeau was already here prior with Bill Cowher. He just held
LeBeau
him.
was already here,
Yeah.
but he did held him.
Mhm.
There's one other guy who, the
Bruce
offensive line
Arians?
coach. No, Munchak.
Mhm.
So at one time we had 3 head coaches on this team,
Mhm.
and then after that is when somehow we started to go in the other direction. But we never brought on that young whiz kid that you're seeing in the rest of the NFL today.
Mhm.
Didn't
And here's the
LeBeau
other
coach a team too?
LeBeau. That's what I said. LeBeau coached
Okay.
Cincinnati.
Yeah, sorry, I wasn't paying attention. Hey, giving a shout out to Chris down with a nasty cold. Otherwise, he'd be on. So thanks for tuning in, buddy. No worries. Get better.
But I think where Tomlin is failing is the developmental aspect of the coaching. I mean, even Belichick, even though his disciples never really went to do anything good, you can argue maybe Vrabel, but at the end of the day, really, Bill's coaching tree sucked in the NFL as a coach.
Mhm.
But Tomlin has 0 at this time.
Yeah.
Well, it looks like we're stuck with him for another year. So I don't know. Do we bring in some?
I'm not upset about it. I'm not like everybody else and want to run him out of town. I mean, to me personally, getting 10 wins out of the group that you had this year with the injuries that you sustained in key positions, I mean, you can't scoff at 10 wins. You really can't, JT. I mean, the bad losses and all, he still scratched and clawed and got something out of this team to give us a chance to go into the playoffs. If we have a healthy TJ Watt, who knows what could have happened? You know what I mean? Like, maybe Allen doesn't have the running lanes, or he's off kilter somewhat and gets those bad turnovers that we were accustomed to seeing throughout the whole year. I mean, we all know the record without TJ Watt. It's now, what, 1-11 without him. So everybody wants to run him out of town and call him mediocre Mike, and I see their argument, but to get 10 wins out of this football team, I got to hand it to the guy. I'm sorry.
All right. All right. Let's play this game then. Was this season a win for you?
No. I would say it was a failure just for the simple fact. And here's the thing. Was it actually a failure, or was this team overhyped because of what we saw in the preseason? Did we give ourselves too much hope with what we saw this football team do against a bunch of backups in the preseason? And then we get into the regular season, and it was back to almost what we saw the previous year. You know what I mean? Like,
Well, I'll tell you what. For me, it seems like it was a setback. Um, I can sit here and say we underutilized Pat Fryermuth. We watched the digression of Connor Hayward. We never even seen Darnell Washington mature into or develop into a receiver. Now, as far as a blocker, all right, he did his fair share. We could probably sit here and say, "Oh no, he didn't." TA, but in reality, as much as he was on the field, we remember the bad plays, but there was a lot of good plays that he was able to block for. Allen Robinson, another guy who was heavily underutilized, until what? Mason came in. Why is that? I mean, you had these receivers and underutilized. How about even Calvin Austin, guys?
Yeah,
Calvin
yeah,
Austin
agree.
got to see the end zone in this last game. That is crazy that he only got 2 touchdowns for us this year.
Yeah, with his speed.
With his speed, exactly right.
Mhm.
We couldn't figure out something coming out of the slot with this kid. To me, whoever the wide receivers coach is, he's the first guy getting a pink slip at the end of this week. He is gone, period. Now, next thing is I'd really have to look at the offensive line. And then I'm going to have to really take a step back and think to myself, how am I playing this draft? And quite honestly, I'm looking to see if I can trade with anybody, a player that I can get moved up on. And who is that? Could it be a Deontay?
Minka.
Possibly. Could be Minka. I mean, I wouldn't necessarily be opposed to that. But something's got to happen to help us gather up some more draft picks like we did last year.
Yeah.
And then when I look at this defense, guys, this defense is in total shambles. And the only player that I seen this year, I mean, come on and play this defense the way it was meant to play, is Eric Rowe. That guy was Minka Fitzpatrick 3 years ago when he got onto this team. He played like it was nobody's business this year. Patrick Peterson came on, but all of a sudden, in the most important game of our season,
Boy, it
Patrick
shined through.
Pete, yeah, Patrick Pete went back to the first 8 games. I mean,
I mean, you have a free shot at a quarterback, and you don't even come close to bringing him down.
right, because you want to play ring around the roses. But
I guarantee you, Mike Hilton brings him down.
oh, yeah, absolutely. But my point being to all of this is coaching, coaching, coaching. Tomlin, it's time for Tomlin to surround himself. And here's the thing, even if Tomlin surrounds himself with some good young minds or some retreads, then it's going to be, well, it's not really Tomlin, it's so and so. It's so and so. Because whatever we do, it does not matter. If it's Tomlin, if it's the next coach, Mr. A, B, and C, somewhere, somehow, either the media or the Yinzer will not give him credit. And everybody can jump on the bandwagon on how much Cowher was this and how much Cowher was that. But in all reality, you same cocksuckers ran him out of town too. Be honest with yourselves. You did it too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think next year is like I don't foresee them giving him his contract extension like they usually do. I think they're going to kind of use a wait and see approach on how next season goes before they recommit. Or if he's like, hey, I'll finish out my contract and then I'm moving on. I don't, nobody knows what's transpiring inside the doors there.
Yeah, but Trent, it is if we look at history, Bill Cowher was on the same thing towards the end of his career. And it was, are you going to play another year, Bill, or not? I don't know. It's a wait and see. All right, why don't we just sign you up for 1 year, maybe 2. We'll see how it goes. All right, sounds good. Same way with the GM we just lost. Damn it, he's only been gone for
Kevin Colbert.
For Kevin Colbert for the last 6 years, signed 1-year contracts to be with this team. This is no different than where Tomlin's at right now. Tomlin doesn't know, am I going to go be with my kids? Because they're all at that age, man. Let's face it. They got a lot of things going on. And everybody knows to be a head coach in this league takes a lot of time and effort to be able to juggle and manage it all. So
yeah, there's 31 other teams that have to do it too. I can't sit here and he pulled some shit together, but I just 17 seasons. Let me just run a couple numbers by you. 17 seasons in the league, never had a losing season. Okay, that's good. He's only won games in the playoffs 4 of those years. No coaching tree, like you said. Is he really an elite coach? His 8-9
Okay.
playoff record, last win 2016, and 2 wins since 2012.
I mean, I
Losing to bad teams. Like, come on. How do you not have your team ready to play Arizona? They even said out of the locker room, leaked the fact that they weren't prepared. They were overlooking Arizona.
Well, and here's the other thing. What is it that Najee keeps alluding to? He's not blaming the coaches, but he's damn sure trying to point somebody out
He
in
is.
this locker room with no discipline. But it's not the coaches. Well, who's in charge of the discipline then?
That's a good point. That's a good point. Trying to
But,
find his exact quote here. Go ahead.
But again, GT. So going back to what you just said, let's go ahead and put that up against Pete Carroll. What do you think of Pete Carroll?
Here's what I think, TA. I think that it's 17 years, just things just get stale, dude. You know, they just get old, and sometimes it's just time for a change. You know, I talked about it just like a hockey team. Somebody they score 4 quick goals on your goalie. He could be the best goalie in the world, but sometimes you just need to make some changes to spark a team. And you know, they tried firing the offensive coordinator. You know, Mason came in as an option and provided a little bit of a spark. All of a sudden, they seemed alive. But it's just like year after year. You're right, Bob, but there will not be any changes. We know that. But don't you think the Rooneys are like, you know what? At some point in time, instead of worrying about where he may go and, oh, he'll find a job 5 minutes after we let him go. So what? It's time for something fresh, man. I mean, it's just time. That's my
and JT, I'm not going to argue that with you, but and I'm not going to be one of those guys say, okay, well, who do you replace with him? Because even when Cowher left, you know, nobody knew who Tomlin was to begin with.
No, correct.
But here's my kicker: if you know, we found a young special teams coach in Bill Cowher, and then we found a young secondary defense coordinator in Mike Tomlin. Aren't there other young guys out there that we should be looking at to bring in to be offensive, defensive coordinators and help put that spark into the team?
Absolutely.
Because if I look at last year of what Miami's coach came in here,
Mike McDaniel.
No. He was
Flores.
Flores.
Yeah.
The spark that Flores went ahead and put on this team last year, to me personally, I almost think that it would have been better off to look at Austin and say, Austin, you can stay on the team, but you're going to play under Flores. So I'm making Flores my defensive coordinator.
Mm-hmm.
But that didn't happen. And to me, I think Tomlin's only criticism is he's too loyal to his coaches.
Yep,
to a fault. And he needs to be able to make that hard cut decision. And quite honestly, up until this year, we didn't even have a running backs coach. I mean, it took us how long to get Eddie in here? After Dick Hoke left us.
Mm. Yeah. I mean, there's guys out there to be had, you know, and this team has to be, like, when you look at this team, it has to be enticing. You know what I mean? There's young talent all over the place on the offensive side of the ball for an offensive-minded coach. You know what I mean? There's all kinds of different weapons that you can utilize in that offense. It's a defensive coordinator. If, you know, you let go of Terrell Austin, like, they look at this and just like, okay, I got TJ Watt and a couple guys that are aging or can't stay on the field. Like, do I want to get into that mess?
Well, we already know that the offense is definitely going to have a different look come next year.
It's got to. Simply put, yeah, it's got to. It's got to. So, did they hire an offensive coordinator in the offseason? Do you think that's coming?
I would hope so. I mean, I don't like what we have. I'm not I don't want to settle with Faulkner and Sullivan.
Oh, at least
No.
they mixed it up a little bit better.
And I tell
Yeah,
you
but
what,
anybody with half a brain would do that besides Matt Canada.
Yeah.
As long as the offensive coordinator doesn't come from Maryland, I'll
Yeah.
take one.
Please, no more Maryland. No more Maryland and no more William and Mary.
Right? Yeah.
Well-
yeah, it's time to spread the wings.
That's it.
so guys, what's everybody's take on why Tomlin walked out of the presser? We didn't even mention that.
Well, I'm just going to jump in here. Sorry, Freight Train.
No, you're
But-
good.
Bad timing on that question. Bad timing.
Mhm.
What did you expect to get from asking that question? Sometimes these reporters, they stick their foot in their own mouths. Walking out, he wasn't in the mood for that. Can't say I blame him. Should have been pissed off. Like, of all the questions you could ask me, you have to go there. But yet, on the other hand, you know what? He has a right to, he has an obligation to, I should say, talk to the media. Now, that question I just thought was bad timing. What about you, Freight Train?
I think, I could be completely wrong, and TA will have no problems to tell me that I'm wrong. But I think his feelings got hurt a little bit. You know what I mean? Like, when you feel like you've done the best you could possibly do with what you have in front of you, and then it turns into the whole week leading up to this game, well, Mike Tomlin's going to leave, or are they going to keep Tomlin around? And in the inside, you're like, your feelings are hurt because you feel like you've done the best you can with the hand that you were dealt.
Yeah.
Is why I think he had the reaction that he had. And he just wasn't ready to answer it. Like, in that time, he just got over a loss in the playoffs.
Right.
He knows how disappointed the fan base is. He knows they're talking about him. You know what I mean? I think he needed a minute to, like, kind of reel himself in before he brought it up to, like, his players and everything.
To me, I'm a Freight Train. I think you're heading down the right trail. I looked at it as this was a coach who is still deeply invested in this team and bringing a championship to them, and all the fighting and everything that he's done. And the one thing that we've heard from multiple players throughout this year, and even in the past, it doesn't matter win or lose, Tomlin shows up every day at the same demeanor, ready to get back to football, keeping the ship going straight. And I think he had every right to go ahead and walk out because, like you said, JT, it was bad timing.
Yeah.
That was not the place for this.
No.
Which also leads me to believe that the media is getting worse and worse in making up stories to become relevant in today's age. It doesn't matter if it's sports, politics, whatever. We are just in an age, guys, where it's okay to make up falsified shit to make it the narrative.
I mean, you saw it everywhere, TA. Everywhere that the NFL is broadcasted, when they're talking about the playoffs, it was Mike Tomlin expected to step down, or Mike Tomlin possibly stepping down. They weren't talking about the football team playing in a playoff game. It was negativity towards
Him.
their leader.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, that might have had something to do with it too. Like, this team's like, what the hell? Like, we made the playoffs and you're not talking about us. You're talking about our head coach leaving.
Who has no intention of going anywhere.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah. No, I so to me, I really enjoyed the fact when I seen Tomlin look at her, turn his head and stage left, I thought, good for you, Mike.
Yeah.
Good for you. That's the most balls I've seen come out of you in a long time in public, brother.
Yeah.
Have your moment. I'm okay with it.
I mean,
Well,
like I
guys,
said, everybody has their own opinions about them. You know what I mean? And an argument could be said on both sides of it. But like me personally, like I'm not quite ready to give up on him just yet because we could be in a hell of a lot worse situation than what we are currently right now.
Okay. All right. I mean, I can't disagree. I agree and disagree in some points on that. But um, so let's look at the culture on this team. Where is that culture? We're hearing all these rumblings, and yeah, it's always worse when you're losing, and those comments come in the heat of the moment and things like that. But really, just like step back in this culture. Is it his job to keep this team together and keep this petty bullshit, or is it just a product of today's culture and social media and the vultures in the news media, like he called them? So, is it a culture thing? Is something going on in the locker room that we don't know about? Some people need their ass beat.
you know what?
That's how the coach used to handle that shit. He'd throw a chair at you.
You know what though, JT, you bring up a good point. In today's woke world, is that even possible to do that anymore? To demand or expect that out of your players without some kind of violation?
Doesn't that fall on the head coach? That type of thing?
It does, but again, at what point at what moment
He has to still abide by the
much?
Players Association and how they conduct.
He does. He has to follow rules.
Mm-hmm.
Well, let me throw this out there to you guys. If Eric Bieniemy became available in a week, should we jump on him?
You'd have to think about it. I'm not like 100%.
Because here's the funny
I
thing
consider
about
it. I consider him a candidate. Yeah, for sure.
And here's the reason I ask, because if you look at Eric Bieniemy, he took a huge chance on leaving the Chiefs to say, "Hey, I am that good," and went to the Commanders, only now to be without a head coach and not really prove his worth. Did he have the right people? Does he get the head coaching position? Or does he find himself out on the street? And if so, who picks him up?
A lot
Chiefs
of
might bring him back. There's a chance of that.
And I'm gonna throw a name out here that the guy he bleeds black and gold. He's the prototypical Steeler type of head coach. Is Mike Vrabel.
He's going to get a head gig somewhere, though. He's not going to come. He's not going to be a coordinator.
How do you know? If nobody comes a knocking,
somebody's going to come a knocking. He's another guy that maxes out the potential of his football team. You know what I mean? Like they had a terrible football team, but somehow they were always within the conversation until up to this year.
Yeah, but even so, I mean, if you look at his head coaching career at 55 and 48, that doesn't necessarily.
Yeah, but he also took a team that only had. He also took a team that only had Derrick Henry to the AFC Championship game a couple years ago, too.
A couple years ago, if you're meaning like 2019.
That's a handful. Okay, a handful. I'm sorry.
Well, yeah, but you're sticking up for him in that, and we're sitting here dogging Tomlin for not winning in the last 6 years. You see what I'm saying? So
I wasn't dogging him.
No, but there's others in there. My point is where do these people fall in the line? And I'm ready to break this down, but I don't think it's tonight, guys. I think what we need to do is say goodbye, Steeler fans. We'll be back right before the Super Bowl, and then we're probably going to take another week off and get ready to put together a great off season and go from there. What do you guys think? Did I miss something? Should we?
Well, let's let's shoot for a Super Bowl episode. We'll do our season wrap up. And yeah, agree, Bubba. Get some young-minded offensive coach. But I think we could do review our predictions pre-Super Bowl in an episode. So you want to go on that Thursday?
Yeah, Thursday before the Super Bowl.
Okay.
We'll be back.
Do that. Yep. Let's do that. It'll give us some R&R. Yeah. But a lot of episodes out there this year. Probably in the neighborhood of about 60 to 65 episodes we put out this season. So we got one more for you, too. So who knows? We've got some guests in line. By the way, I had a conversation, speaking of Mike Vrabel, I had a conversation with a former Titans head coach that I will not mention whose name it was, but he had some interesting things to say. And we'll share that again in another episode. Maybe even get him back on here in the off season. I think he's itching to say a few things anyhow. So looking forward to getting him back on as well too. So and of course maybe Randy. Who knows what we can pull together for that episode? Maybe a make a cast too. I'll have to throw that out there. Bubba, you still listening? Anyhow, yep. I agree with you guys. It's time to put this season to bed, stick a fork in it. Hey, we had some renew hope and we made it in. There you go. He is. Had some renew hope. We made it in. We just thought maybe that momentum could continue. But, hey, they came up against a good Buffalo Bills team. And kudos to them. Also want to give a quick shout out to Shane for spending time with us both on the PSF app and here on Steelers Realm podcast. Wishing him the best. He's got a handful of stuff and decided to move on from Steelers Realm. So thank you for all your time and input. And then I wish you the best, buddy. Bubba said let's do one after the Super Bowl. We'll do a mega cast. All right. More to come on that, Steeler Nation. So we'll wrap it up there, gentlemen. It's been a great season, a roller coaster, a heavy drinking season.
Yeah.
So now we'll take a break and retool, and we'll look forward to get back with you guys on the Super Bowl. So, TA Freight Train, have a great rest of your week, man. I'm sure we'll be chatting along the way. Steeler Nation, thanks for tuning in.
Yeah, Steelers Nation, it's been a fun ride. It's been frustrating at times, but at least we're not the Philadelphia Eagles.
Or the Cleveland Browns.
Yeah, or the Dallas Cowboys. I'll tell you what. If I was your guys' fan base, I'd be like, in smoke, if you're still out there and you haven't committed suicide yet, brother, it's going to be okay.
He's still alive. I talked to him, that poor fella.
All right. I just want to make sure. Steelers Nation, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for listening. And there'll be more to come.
Peace out.
Check back next week into the Steelers Realm.